I've been gone for about 2 months now, and I just got back here to Arizona about a week ago, and there were some big fires here while I was gone. And I don't know the extent of the damage. From what I understand, they're contained already. Some of this road that I'm on now is already closed further up ahead, or they're keeping it closed for a while. And but I'm kind of anxious to check on some of the areas that I frequent to see if they got hit or not. A little bit nervous about it because I've kind of come to love those areas and had some good experiences out there, just wandering around with nature, and so hopefully the fires didn't touch them. But I'm gonna go up there today and check on it. So I still haven't seen any fire damage. I don't think I'm far enough back yet, but every trail or trailhead that heads toward the Superstition Wilderness is closed off with like sheriff's do not cross yellow tape. So I'm not sure. I'm kind of worried that the place that I'm going is going to be that I'm not going to be able to access that either. And I thought I was going to get lucky here, and looks like the fire did drop down into this little area. Off to my right here, a lot of that grassland stuff has been burned up. This is just a pull off on the side of the road. Sometimes I stop here just to hang out. Use point. A little bit of burn over here. It's kind of in spots. Still going to push up a little bit further. I want to hike back into one of the areas that I go a lot, out by my juniper tree and stuff, or what I call my juniper tree. We had a lot of new growth this spring because it was so wet. But once summer hits, it gets so hot, all that stuff dries up, and all that's just potential fuel for any fire that starts. I'm gonna go jump back in my car and head up a few more miles to hike back and check out an area out there. A lot of this area over here is like burned in patches. Still a lot of stuff survived. Like these look pretty good. Lower portions a little bit scorched, but they'll probably do okay. So far what I'm seeing is, looks like the fires in this area at least mostly just hit the grasses and all that. A lot of the bigger plants seem to be mostly okay. It's cool seeing some of the agave and desert spoon plants and things like that. They are still holding their seeds. They haven't dropped them yet, and so hopefully that'll mean that by the time they're ready to drop them, it'll be, you know, good fertile ground for them to be able to continue on that cycle. And then hopefully the grasses and all that are intact enough under the ground that they can come back next spring. So far, a lot of the fire damage I'm seeing in this area is over on on that side in that little canyon area. Been down there a little bit, but I spend a lot of my time off in this side, so curious to see how it looks over this edge here. Not seen any burn out here yet. It's funny, this dry yellowy grass usually isn't my favorite stage of it, just because this is when it's so crazy hot and just you know, green is always nice, but it's actually cool to see it right now, because in other places like back there just over the hill, anything this kind of grass was all scorched out. It was just ashes. So seeing it here means that things were protected here, which makes me happy. I mean, it's sad that some of the areas got burned and stuff, but this place kind of has a special place. It's kind of a special place for me, and I was really worried it was going to be burned up. Come up over here, gotta hike in a little ways, get out to my little juniper tree that I spend time by. We all get into kind of those darker, less positive places in our head, and I've come out here at times like that, and I don't know, might not look like much, but this place has been able to you know, reach me. That's why I keep that's why I get excited about this kind of wilderness therapy kind of thing, or whatever you want to call it. It's just when you just get out, find that quiet place, and it helps quiet the things in your head. And you know, if coming out here can help you reach that kind of place inside your head where you can make progress, where you can heal stuff, you know, that's solid medicine. Got this century agave behind me. The seed pods up there, they haven't opened yet. They're still nice and green and tight. That plant down below is dead, so pretty soon it'll tip over right about the time that those things are all ready to spill their seeds out. So, like I said before, it's cool seeing stuff like that with the fire and the potential damage they could have had, but they take a long time to build up that thing to be able to reproduce like that. Those ones will make it. Some more right here. There's my tree. I thought that when I got out here, that thing would just be a burned up stump. I keep a little bit of distance from my tree there. I was hoping to crawl in there. I use that as a shade spot sometimes. It's hot out here, it's over 100 degrees. But there's this really cool little bird that's in there. There's a couple of them at least. They're making some noise. I'm wondering if they nested in there or something. So that's another reason why it's good that that thing didn't burn up. I mean, that's one tree in... I found another one out here recently, another lone juniper tree, so it's not completely lone, but it was way out over there, somewhere out that way. Here's one of those century agaves I was talking about. This one's got seed pods on it, and it's already tipped over the dried up portion here, like, is dying, and so it tipped over with the winds, which leaves these seed pods. Here's the seed pods. They're still closed up. You can hear them though. Seeds in there, but the drier they get, the more loose those seeds will get, and then they'll get dry and open, kind of split open on the sides, and then all the seeds will dump out. A lot of times they stay up high and don't fall over quite so soon, but this one being on the cliff edge here probably tipped over. I'll find a dry one to point out, like an old one, show you what the seeds look like, the pods look like once they open up. There's a dry one down there. I'll go down there. So this is one that's been down for a long time. These things get dry and they split open like this and dump all their seeds out. Each one of these little rows will have like a line of seeds there. So each one holds a lot of seeds, but I mean, when you look at the ground out here, it's going to take a few before one of them actually takes and grows. Before I left for Idaho and Alaska, these things were just the flowers, those yellow flowers that blossom everywhere. And those flowers close up into pods and become these. It's over 100 degrees out here today, and that's hot. It's crazy to think that just a little over a week ago, I was in Alaska climbing a mountain, layering up because the fog and rain was moving in, and it was getting cold from the wind. And then there's this whole different game. So I'm making my way back now. My main thing coming out here was just to check on the fire damage to see if this place got hit or not. So I was happy to see that it seems to have kind of moved around this area. It makes me happy. Another thing that's been cool though is just going around and just because I know that this place could have been scorched very easily, coming out and seeing some of the things, like I mentioned a couple times, those dry grasses, you know, and how those things survive. But it's interesting to think about some of the different things that could have been lost. And as I've been walking around out here, I've been kind of looking at everything sort of through that lens of, like, you know, what would have happened if these plants were gone, if this plants were there. And obviously there's the, you know, the homes to the birds and the animals and everything that lives out here. And but then there's also, like I was pointing out, the century agave and the desert spoon and those kind of plants holding their seed pods up there that they've been working really hard for a long time to produce, and then they could have been burned and not been able to finish. And then also, like, there's bite marks in some of the prickly pear pads from lots of animals do that, like deer and javelina. But this whole area, you know, is just one place in a huge wilderness area. But for animals moving through here, depending on this area for food and stuff, at least for the season until those things are able to regrow, those things would be gone. So it's always nice to come out after something like this, after a fire, and just to kind of realize the impact of that. I'm always safe with my fires, and I think heavily about that and about my own actions. But you know, coming out and just thinking about that just helps me remember a little bit more how everything ties together a little bit. Also, on a slightly deeper note, I guess you could say, I was kind of intrigued by how important this place is to me. I mentioned a little bit about having some good experiences out here and that sort of thing. And so it's always sad when, you know, a place like that has good memories tied to it is destroyed. But and I definitely don't want that ever, but it is interesting to think though that really what we're trying to preserve there it's not just the memories. It's, you know, there's that place within ourselves that's able to connect and to make memories and to make an experience a good experience. You know, that's all within us. And awesome places like this, if you watch that video about the mountain there in Alaska, that was a beautiful place. Like, those kind of things, you know, have some definite power to be able to bring home that message. But ultimately it's inside of us to be able to to do that. And that's the part that, you know, if you want to get symbolic with the fire thing, you don't want to let that part inside of us get destroyed in any way. And I think we do that, you know, on a daily basis. There's things that kind of threaten to break that down and to make those connections weaker, to make us forget what's really important. We lose priorities. We just distance ourselves from this stuff. That's something I've been trying really hard to do, you know, in my little efforts with this self-inflicted wilderness therapy, is to make sure that I'm not losing sight of those things, that I'm not forgetting, because that's, you know, that's a step backwards when I do. So yeah, a lot of good little reminders out here in the extremely hot desert. It's very warm today. I got plenty of water in the pack, and yeah, be back of the car after a while and head on back.